Good evening. Welcome back. I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting for June 15th, 2026 to order. Village Clerk Benton, please call roll.
All right, Mayor Mullen.
Here.
Trustee Duffy is not joining us. Trustee Grau is absent. Trustee McGovern.
Here.
Trustee McQuillan.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
Trustee Simon.
Here.
Thank you very much. Next is public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to provide public comment?
Susan Srail. Mayor Mullen, the last comment you made, I'm tired of listening to it. The reason that people did not do that was because the village wanted to charge us between 14 and 18% over 20 to 30 years. That's more than a credit card. That's completely asinine. When you go into other areas and you're taking our wheeling money and using that money in your public works department to extend Maine into unincorporated areas, and then charging those people 0% interest. How is that even fair? Where do you even say that that's equal treatment for Oakview? That is not. And then you're taking some of the money out of the Public Works Department. I don't know if people are aware of this. And you're going to help Pulte Builders pay for some of their main and sewer at a percentage. I think it's like 20 or 30% you're going to help pay for over there, which was at another meeting. That's what you said at the other meeting. That's what you guys discussed. And that should not be done because that should be the builder that pays for that, and it should be put on the homes when they're sold, just like Oakview had to do when we paid for our mains 68 years ago. So I'm tired of the excuses and saying that Oakview residents didn't want to do that. Do you know how much that would have cost us per home? It would have been like $25,000 or $30,000 a home 20 years ago. How would residents afford that? Would you have done that as a homeowner? That wasn't even in the ballpark to help us. So I understand where we stand now. There is no solution for Oakview. There is no help from this village. I want the Oakview residents to understand that this evening. There will be no help from this village. They will not treat us equally. They will not give us a chance, even though you've paid taxes your home has for 68 years. You will be treated differently. It's wrong. And I am disgusted.
Anyone else for public comment?
Laurel Myers, 52 years at my house. I said I wanted to talk a little bit about the rebranding. I agree with everything that's been said, so I won't repeat that. I'm just wondering why. I understand the wanting to market, Lyle. I totally get that. But I don't understand why we have to change our brand in order to make a better market. And you're planning on spending at least $50,000 of my tax money. My taxes on my house went up $500 this year. The Park District wants to build a new building. That's another $150 this year for our house, estimated. Water's going up. You said it's going to be 45% in the next 3 years. Now, if somebody has a $300 water bill, think how much money that is. The school district is top-heavy on administration. I've paid taxes into the school district since 1969. I think as a senior citizen, I should have some break. And a lot of this comes down to the village. It's not the state, it's the village, in each individual village and county. So where's my tax relief? We are on the homestead. That's a big $500 a year, I think. So I'm tired. I'm going to be priced out of my home. I will not be able to live here if my husband passes, because with his pension, I only get 40% of what his pension is. I will not be able to pay my taxes to live in that house. I will have to leave, unfortunately, because I do like Lyle. I've been here since 1969, and I really loved how it was country, and I could ride my horse over in Green Trails, where you guys all live now, and I really, really like this village. But we senior citizens need some help, and we need some understanding on how much we're having to pay in for facilities that we don't use anymore, or that we've paid into for 50 years or more. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hello.
Hi.
Dawn Dickinson. Just a couple things. I know it's not a huge deal. There's a lot more important things right now going on than the rebranding, I know. But to me, it's kind of an important deal. I mean, I think the logo currently is so nice. It's nice in the evenings when you're coming into Lyle from Warrenville, from, from down, no, it seems like it's almost, the signage is so nice in the evenings for almost every town coming into Lyle. But I think, a couple things including the residents. I mean, it was done the way it's supposed to be done. You sent out the survey, the marketing department sent out a survey, or the marketing company sent out the survey. They got ideas and feedback from the residents. So that was done, It's kind of like, if I were to want to redo my home outside, redo a lot of, the siding or whatever, I would go to my husband or he would come to me, get the ideas, get all the information, get, what he would like. And then I would find out, okay, how much would it cost? The bottom line, what would it finally look like? So I guess it would be nice to include the residents. I personally don't like the new logo, but again, that's just me. That's only my opinion. I'm only one person in Lyle. And I think it would be nice to include everyone. Now that you have the final idea of what it looks like and what it's going to encompass and what you're going to do, it might be kind of nice to just put it to a vote, since there's so many people living in Lyle call Lyle their home. It might be kind of a good idea to get their input to see if they like it before making any final, decisions. And I get it, the focus. The focus is to increase Lyle, the visibility. And I think there's so many great things happening right now. The downtown looks better now. It's even improving more. You've got the food trucks, and you also have the farmers market. And there's so much great feedback right now that we're getting that visibility. So it's kind of like, maybe just let's wait. Let's focus on some of these projects that are going on right now and see how that pans out. Because again, the cost is also a concern, for me as well, and I'm sure for many people. It's not just the $50,000's already been spent. It is what it is. It's probably not much of anything in the grand scheme of things. But what concerns me is the rollout plan. It sounds like there's going to be continuous, large sums of money as to teaching and training. And I'm like, do we really need that right now? I'm saying maybe we just be patient, hold off, because our logo is so nice right now, and I don't know if many people really want it changed. And what would it hurt to be patient, wait a little while, and just see how everything else pans out? Maybe just focus on the goals that we have now, and maybe wait a little bit on that. Yeah, I think that's actually about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anyone else for public comment? Okay. I just want to point out one thing, Ms. Rail. I didn't say that in order to upset you. I said it because we were trying to learn from what happened then to come up with a better approach and plan today. So We're not going to come back to you with pay that much and it's something outrageous. We're trying to learn from what happened 20 years ago, so we don't end up in a situation where everyone says, no, we can't live with that. That's my point. Sorry if that was not clear. Okay, that'll move us into the regular agenda for Committee of the Whole, which the long-awaited discussion on Village Branding Initiative. Community Engagement Specialist Pasden, would you please present this item?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Village Board. Before you this evening is the branding initiative. Since the Village entered into the agreement with Guide Studio Inc. for this project, several key milestones have been achieved and phases of the project have been completed. A list of these items are on your screen. Most recently, the Village received a draft implementation plan, which is part of a large part of our discussion this evening. As part of the current contract, the items that are forthcoming ahead of us include a brand style guide and brand implementation. I apologize. There are a couple other things too. So from the last time that this item was presented before you was Committee of the Whole, a special meeting due to scheduling conflict, but it was held on the 24th of February. And at that meeting, Kathy Frommett, president of Guide Studio, presented the Village's brand identity development. And staff was asked to provide a draft of the implementation plan, which Guide Studio has provided to us. In addition, the request of staff was to have the Public Art and Special Events Advisory Committee to review the logo and provide their input, which they did at their regular meeting in March of this year. Guide Studio then received their input on the logo and made changes, which they refer to, or we collectively refer to as refinements, that ensure the consistency within the established brand strategy and color palette. A copy of the updated logo is provided in the packet and will also be reviewed shortly. Regarding the brand implementation plan, there are sections within this plan, 5 main sections, and they really focus on launching and integrating the new brand within our existing communications and marketing. They are part of a phase and practical approach, and the 5 main sections that we're going to focus on this evening are the brand launch, the brand integration, and tactical initiatives. First, starting with brand launch, this section focuses on making low-cost digital updates first before expanding over time through an approach that is manageable and conscious of our resources. The plan uses 5 phases, beginning with pre-launch, working towards launch, and then ultimately ongoing integration. This is an excerpt from the plan which shows phase 3, launch. And it outlines, each phase within the launch plan outlines some of these key areas, including time frame, focus, operational milestones, and communication activities. Then on the right side for staff, this is a checklist of activities that will be accomplished as part of each individual phase. The brand integration section within the brand implementation plan is also a short-term plan like the brand launch plan, and it really asks the questions, what do we want to accomplish with our brand using strategies to determine how objectives will be met, and finally moving into tactics, which are the activities needed to turn strategies into action. And there are 5 key objectives that are outlined, and they are on the screen, but I'm just going to briefly read them. Identity, messaging and story, communications, economic vitality, place and experience. So this is, again, an excerpt as an example of the identity objective. showing this movement between what we want the objective to be, how to accomplish it with a strategy, and what individual activities we're going to be performing in terms of tactics on the right side. The tactical initiative section within the brand implementation plan is a little bit more focused on long-term initiatives. They are focused on high-impact efforts that require additional planning and coordination beyond the day-to-day activities. When staff looked at this plan collectively, without assigning too many dates to any particular item at this point in time, really this focus would be 2, 3, 5 years out. And there are some examples on the screen here of what a tactical initiative might be. There are several that were included within the plan. This is one example, which is the economic vitality to develop an economic development communication tools, which would equate to an economic development pitch kit. What it is on the left, execution tips in the middle, and expected outcomes on the right. And this is a consistent format throughout the tactical initiative section. So that was a quick overview of the draft implementation plan. Moving into the brand style guide. So our consultant Guide Studio provided us an excerpt with the brand style guide, and these items are on the screen. So this is the updated logo. It includes the updated artwork and also has the Arboretum Village tagline incorporated within it, and then some different applications or different makeups of the same logo and how it can be used in various applications, whether it be stacked, horizontal, vertical, emblem, or circle. This is the color palette, which expands where we are currently at with about 2 colors. We have green as our primary color, and then we also have this kind of orange color as an accent color, but this expands our current color palette to 7 colors. And these colors were based on the Lisle community specifically, and the natural elements and the warmth and earth tones as well, all go back to what the consultant found in terms of the practical benefits and the great things about the Lisle community. This is an example of a business card and what this looks like, so I'm not going to explain too much, but you can at least see that this is the different applications of the logo, and on the back there's some texture with the leaves. Presentation example, also incorporating new fonts, new graphics, and some additional elements there. Merchandise, which we don't plan on having a merchandise shop, but this is just an example of what some of these items look like. Maybe perhaps more practically on the right is a patch that could be embroidered on a shirt, on a hat of village staff. This is an example of a single color application on polos and hats, and signage, and some wayfinding banners as well. That pattern, again, being used as part of the visual element there. That is where we are currently at in terms of this contract and project. At this time, staff is ready to proceed with implementation. We are here this evening before the village board for any further discussion and direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do any board members have feedback or questions or other things to share?
A question?
Sorry, just point out, do we need to have public comment on this item specific? I know many of the,
True, yeah, I can ask if
Pre-item.
there's anyone who hasn't already provided public comment on this who would like to provide public comment. Thank you, Trustee Olson.
Susan Sorrell, this is fiscally irresponsible. We do not need a new brand. That's not going to bring people to Lisle. what's going to bring people to Lyle is a board that listens to the public, that responds to people when they send emails in. This is what people see who want to bring their businesses here and how the people here are treated and are afraid that that's how they're going to be treated. So a brand isn't going to change anything. It's like lipstick on a pig. My other comment is this is going to cost a lot of money. You're looking at 7 colors. When you're painting something and you put 7 colors in it, they charge per color. I know that. I've been in the field for years. I've been in the field for silk screening, monogramming. I've been in that field. First of all, that is never going to fit on a hat, that logo. Second of all, it's not going to fit on the front of a shirt on the left-hand side. I can tell you that right now. You start putting colors in there, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. You silk screen it, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be expensive. You have posts, downtown Lyle, the light posts, that have the old logo on it. So you're just going to leave the old logo there? Or are we going to get all new light posts? What about all the metal pieces inside all the fixtures of the lights down there that Mayor Broda had put in? Are we getting rid of all those too eventually? Is that what we're doing? You're talking a lot of money. So let's not fool the people of Lyle. Let's remember that I was told taxes were not going to go up 11%, but you know what? My village taxes did. They went up 11%. I asked my neighbors, their taxes went up 11%. So stop not telling the truth at this board. Be honest with the people about what you're doing. This is going to cost us a lot of money. And for what? So that you can say you did it, and in 4 years you leave this office and leave the people with the mess again? Because I guarantee you, if you run again and people start hearing what you're doing, they're not voting for you again. Also, I would like the people to know that $7.1 million that was brought up a long time ago, that was put back into the fund. I understand that. But the people need to understand, that was taken from the water sewer fund. And when you returned it, or whoever returned it back into the water sewer fund, didn't put it back in the water sewer fund. They put it in the water sewer construction fund. It did not go back in the fund that it came out of. So that's why the water fund seems short, because it's in the construction fund right now. So maybe you need to find somebody who is financially responsible that can find these things and understand why. Is that now why you increase those water rates on the residents of the Village of Lyle? It's a very good question. Something that needs to be sent to the state's attorney's office. Thank you.
Laurel Myers. I do want to thank the police department and the fire department, and I would be glad to pay all the taxes I possibly can for them. They've been very, very helpful for me in the last 5 years. I don't see any, with the rebranding, I don't see any direction. Where are we going with this? I mean, we're training people, but what are we training them in? I don't say, okay, where are we going with this? I don't see, as a person who doesn't quite understand a lot of this stuff, I just don't understand how changing our logo is going to miraculously do a hallmark movement, and we're going to revitalize the village. I want to see a plan for, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this to help revitalize the village. And we're going to include the people of the village and get their opinion. Yeah, there was a poll that went out. Who knows what they're reading? And when you have pat answers, then you can't say, well, I didn't have a good experience with this, but I had a good experience with this. We need to be more intuitive as far as people being able to answer things. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Ed, you had a question.
Yeah, Amanda, on that first slide you showed, which was the key milestones, You listed on there public perception survey,
Yes.
okay? And who did that go to? Was that all the residents of Lisle?
It was advertised in several locations. All of our main locations that we would typically send something out. Website, it was sent out, email, text message, social media, a variety of locations. Our consultant said that with our 482 respondents, that actually represented a pretty good sample size
Okay.
for the community.
Okay, and then there was a stakeholders workshop.
That's correct.
Who participated in that?
There's stakeholders, so a lot of our intergovernmental partners, the library, the park district, they were all present. We had some small business owners that were also there, who were also Lisle residents. There's some overlap there as well. We also had members of the village, of course, in terms of staff, but we had a pretty comprehensive group and a pretty lengthy discussion, about 3 hours or so with the consultants.
Okay, okay. And then the last thing is, there was a public image survey listed on there.
Correct.
What was that?
So the public image survey, as described as the consultant, is to really reinforce what they found in the public perception survey. How accurate were the things that they were finding initially, and it was primarily to re-solidify the perceptions that they were initially hearing.
Okay. All right, I guess, my point in asking the questions is there has been some, reaching out to the public, to the residents of Lisle about this initiative. And, you said 482 residents responded to that survey. Obviously, that's a small percentage of all the people that live in Lisle, but it's a large percentage of a typical survey for that. So I'm just making that point, that there has been, reaching out to the residents.
Thank you. Other questions or thoughts?
I have a question regarding the design, since it went through the Public Art and Special Events Advisory Committee, the leaf designs have been changed. The larger leaves, what varietal of tree is that from?
I believe that's an oak tree.
An oak, okay. Thank you.
And that was one of the things that I know that the committee focused on, was kind of simplifying the number of leaves, focusing on that one style, and then adding a little bit of fullness to it is what I recall their discussion being about. Other questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the rollout, and I know you touched on it in your report earlier, but just to confirm, like, the digital piece is easy, right? Putting it on the website, putting on letterhead, all that part is not a huge cost investment, correct? So the plan for, like, I'm assuming that we're not replacing the logo on, just use for an example, Public Works trucks. Like, if we replace a truck, it'll have the new logo, right? We're not going to go redo all that. So I anticipate there would be a period where we'd have crossover, right? We'll have the old logo on some stuff and new
Probably
logo.
several years is what we anticipate.
Okay, so we're not replacing anything until it needs replacing, and then when it gets replaced, it'll have the new logo.
Yeah, as a general rule of thumb, as vehicles are rotated out and new graphics are applied, then they would use the new one. Public Works shirts and things like that, those usually get replaced each year, or if they're damaged while working. So as that happens, they'll get replaced as a part of the normal course of business. So water towers, similarly, when it's time to repaint, you repaint it. I know that I've heard some discussion about the gateway signage as well. Those have been on the capital plan for a couple years now. They are reaching the end of their useful life. It's not a project that would be driven by this initiative, but whenever those do come up for design, the cost of that has a lot to do with the design and the type of materials, and some of that is driven by their location, whether they're in or outside of the IDOT right-of-way. So there's a lot of factors that will go into that, but if you go up to them right now, they certainly are reaching the end of their useful life as of present day.
And I know you probably haven't done all the costs, but do you anticipate there being an increase in cost for the new logo versus the old logo? Like on, say, just using, for example, like a Public Works truck or the signage or whatever. You know, there was a comment earlier that, oh, it's going to cost more with more colors. We probably don't have estimates on that yet?
We haven't looked at that level of detail in terms of the logo difference on the vehicle. As a matter of course, they tend to be able to do a lot of different things with those logos, and we're not expecting large differences in cost in that regard. Certainly when you get into embroidery and silk screening and things like that. But that's part of the uniqueness of this particular graphic, is that it has adaptability to various formats. And as you see on the screen here, here's a monochromatic version, or single color, I guess, version. There's different options of how to approach. So we have the flexibility to address it if there is an issue that arises with the colors.
Thank you.
Plus, my experience in having marketing materials and other things printed is one color is one price. More than one color, that's what the price is for 2 to 7. So my experience has been that it doesn't vary wildly by the sheer number of colors, and even the logo doesn't have every single thing thrown into it. We can make it work.
So I won't add too much. We've discussed this a number of times. Other questions and staff has already addressed, I think, one of the key things, which is replacement, or the expense relative to replacement is on an as-needed basis, which, as we've previously discussed, is a key reason, at least for me, in being supportive of how we've gotten to this point and moving forward. In terms of the actual logo and design, I understand the public input, and we've discussed it. But for me, it's certainly not something that's my expertise. So having had this go through the Public Events and Arts Committee, I may have that order mixed up, but having them, which is a group that has far more expertise in terms of the actual design, gives me comfort, understanding that probably if you were able to survey and get a response from all of the 20,000+ residents in town, you might not have 20,000 opinions, but you'd have a significantly high number of opinions on what a logo should look like. So the only other thing that I guess I'll add is to address public comment, the intention has not been for this initiative to solely I guess, be a marketing or driving progress and development forward. There's a lot of other things that have already happened, including some things within downtown that the village board, mayor, and staff have been working on for a period of time. This is just another tool that's available to staff in that process. This isn't something that is going to instantly make this a more development-friendly community. But I think it is something important in the overall marketing of the community. But the things that we're doing with planning and zoning and other initiatives are just as important, and are the things that we're focused on very often that might not get as much attention from some members of the public, which is fine. But some of those initiatives are just as important, and we've been working on those for some period of time. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the revisions that have been made to the logo, does that satisfy what everyone had commented on previously? Okay? So if we move forward, everyone's cool with how it looks at the moment. Okay. I do want to, similar to Trustee Olson, address some of the comments that were made around how it will be used. The previous presentation, I would recommend highly going back and watching the village board meeting or a committee of the whole meeting where we talked about this previously, because there is a significant amount of work that was put into our story, our audiences, who we're talking to, and how we're talking to them. And that is what is, I think, so important for our marketing efforts moving forward. You know, whether it's bringing in small businesses, attracting large developers, working with our residents, there's specific messages that have been provided that are really important for us. And marketing the village openly to attract development is something that has not historically been happening at all. So we are trying to use this effort along with a lot of other things, and attendance at meetings and conferences, and going to places where to talk to developers about who Lyle is and why they should come here. There's a reason things sat vacant for a long time in Lyle, because we haven't been trying to attract good development. We've sat back and hoped for the best. This effort is a small piece of a much larger vision to allow us to attract and continue to turn over as some businesses decide to close, that there's somebody waiting who wants to jump in behind them. As we have areas of office space that are no longer being used as offices, that we can attract people to come in and take over those spaces and reuse them or redevelop them. This is not just about a logo in any way, shape, or form. We've gotten a lot of material from the consultant we used that is really helpful in us being able to push forward with those marketing efforts. And I understand some of what people have said around the investment, but like has been pointed out, we're not going to just change everything out to change it. When it is ready to have to be maintained or changed or painted or swapped out, that's when we'll implement. That's the part of the plan that I think is really important. This isn't about just putting a lot of money into changing things. That's never something we want to do. I don't believe in change for the sake of change. My husband would actually laugh at this because I'm generally change adverse. Like I get mad when there's construction on my old college campus. So I totally hear the concerns, and we're doing everything to mitigate against what you're talking about in terms of the fiscal aspect of it. I do want to just mention, a couple of people brought up their tax bills. Following the abatement we did, the village levy was held flat. Our percentage was flat. So it did not, if you saw an increase, it did not come from anything that happened within the village. Your home value could have gone up, that would impact it, as well as other taxing bodies, but it wasn't anything the village did. We have been trying to do a lot of work without having to impact taxpayers. And I think that's something that is important in this discussion as well. So with that, I just want to ask everyone else up, sorry, Trustee Simon, did you want to add something?
No, I only wanted to add something since you talked about the taxes at the end, and this is specifically for Mrs. Myers. I do understand your concerns. I just wanted you to be aware there is a senior citizens exemption that you may, and there's also a senior freeze. I know you talked about if your income is reduced if you're a husband. There is also a senior freeze exemption that I just want you to be aware of both of those. Well, I think the senior freeze exemption will be a little different. That one's means tested, so I just want you to be aware of them.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Talk to the tax assessor's office, make sure that they've got everything for you on there. Anything else from the board? Was that, yeah, okay. I couldn't tell if that was yes or no. Are we generally on the same page of allowing staff to continue down the path they're going on? Keep looking further at implementation?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll keep moving forward. Okay, so that concludes this agenda item. Does anyone have any reports for Committee of the Whole? Anything further from village staff comments?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I got to
trustee
back
Simon.
up to village and staff reports. I think it was about a year or so ago, maybe a little more, that we changed the rates for the commuter parking so that the daily and the quarterly matched. And I know trustee Osen was particularly interested in if we had a study on usage. So I was wondering if we could maybe get an update. Doesn't have to be soon, but sometime an update on if it's changed the commuter lot usage.
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Now we'll double check if there's anything further from staff for reports.
Nothing further.
Okay. Then with that, we're going to move into executive session, and I'll ask if there's a motion to recess into closed session for the purposes of reviewing closed session meeting minutes, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the village, and the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the village.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and second. Clerk Benton, please call roll.
Trustee Simon?
Aye. Yes, aye.
Trustee McGovern?
Aye.
Trustee McQuillan?
Aye.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. So we are going to adjourn into executive session. No other action will be taken tonight other than adjourning once we come back out of executive session. So you don't need to wait around for us to adjourn if you're wondering what else we're going to do tonight. This will be it. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for your comments. And I really do appreciate you guys being here and providing feedback. A motion to reconvene open session.
So moved.
Second?
There's motion and second. Clerk Benton, please call the roll.
All right, trustee Sima,
Aye.
trustee McGovern,
Aye.
trustee McQuillan,
Aye.
trustee Olson.
Aye.
We're back to open session, and now may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk Benton, please call the roll. Sorry, so fast.
Trustee Olson,
Aye.
trustee McQuillan,
Aye.
trustee McGovern,
Aye.
trustee Sima.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.